I am 1 in a million. This is not just my opinion. It's an actual fact, substantiated by medical research. I, in 1990, was diagnosed with a rare 1 in a million blood disease called essential thrombocythemia. This is totally separate and apart from the paralysis that put me in this wheelchair. Now, I do not like my doctor. He is so negative, I call him Dr. Doom. And one day I'm going to a routine appointment and he tells me, Anne, your disease has changed. It's evolved into a new disorder called myelofibrosis. This is a fatal disorder. I predict that you have 1 to 2 years to live. What? I'm not dying. I don't believe you. I feel fine. Yeah, I'm paralyzed, but I feel fine. I'm getting a second opinion. I am going to the Mayo Clinic. And I talked to one of their big-time doctors, and he says, I confirm the diagnosis of myelofibrosis. Shit. We don't know what causes it, and we can't cure it. So it's true. I'm dying. My body feels heavy, like I'm sinking. But I can tell just from looking at you and your medical records that you will live longer than 1 to 2 years. I predict that you have a 75% chance of living 5 years and a 20% chance of living 10 years. I'm relieved, even happy. I mean, that's 5 times what Dr. Doom said, but a million thoughts flood my mind. Like, should I quit working? What will I do if I quit working? What kind of memorial service do I want to have? Oh, I don't have a will. And so it goes. So I quit my job, I enroll in an experimental drug program, and I do my will. Now I have to be extra nice to my brother because he controls my estate. But as the days become weeks, I realize I am avoiding the big issue. I am afraid of dying. We don't talk about it in school. We don't, like, my parents never read me any books like Goodnight Moon Forever. Where the Dead Things Are. Or The Cat in the Coffin. So I Google the do's and don'ts of dying. And I find a lot of tips on how to color hair. And I scroll down, there's an article on how to support your friend whose pet is dying. There's the tip, do not go to the funeral of people you never liked. Seems like a no-brainer. And weirdest last words of death row inmates. Quote, I didn't get SpaghettiOs. I got spaghetti. I want the press to know. I find an article from the Farmer's Almanac on 100 ways to avoid dying. Number 2, do not put a broom on top of a bed. Number 52, never let 2 people comb your hair at once. And my personal favorite, number 94, don't even think of mocking an owl. This is not exactly what I was looking for, but then a friend tells me about POWA, P-O-W-A, the Buddhist practice of conscious dying. And I find that there's a 5-day retreat in the hills outside of Charlottesville, Virginia, and it says, in this teaching, people learn how to accept death as a natural and expected process, how to adopt the right attitude and preparation for death, and how to practice POWA at the time of death. And I'm like, bingo, this is what I'm looking for. So at the end of a long, twisty-turny road, I arrive at Serenity Ridge. It's a small, plain compound spread out on a sloping green property. The next morning, I awaken to the sound of Tibetan longhorns playing. They issue this deep, foggy sound that spreads out over the hills. Practice begins at 7 a.m. outside, and this is October, and it's cold in the morning. Our teacher begins the practice by leading us in Sanskrit chanting to invoke the gods. Our combined voices create this soothing vibration I feel throughout my whole body. A part of of me thinks these chantings and the practices and the gods is a little bizarre, but it doesn't stop me from enjoying the pleasant rhythm that arises over the next 5 days. There's no TV, no cell phones, no Wi-Fi, but there are drums and bells, flowers and incense, and butter sculptures. All the senses are engaged. I know, butter sculptures. High up in these hills, there's only nature and ourselves and learning more about our own nature. The teacher tells us, the approach of death is a time of reconciliation and reckoning. Through forgiveness and being forgiven, we prepare ourselves most completely for the journey through death. Now, this sounds familiar because when my mother went into hospice, the doctors talked about the importance of forgiveness. The teacher continues, it is our feelings of being unforgiven and unforgivable that cause us to suffer. But these feelings only exist in our hearts and minds. Forgiveness already exists in the nature of God. It is already waiting for you. Wow. The idea that I create my own suffering is powerful because it means I can stop it. And even if I can't, forgiveness is waiting for me. I feel lighter. At the moment of death, abandon all grasping, yearning, and attachments. It is time to give up things, loved ones, and our bodies. We can take nothing with us on this journey. And I realize, oh, my fear of dying is grasping. I don't want to give up living. I am attached to my loved ones and my body. I don't know anything else, but I am beginning to understand that I am more than my body, that what illuminates me transcends my body. Our last thought and emotion before we depart our bodies is extremely important. Pray to protect, nurture, and help others. To die with such loving, tender compassion in our hearts is a good death. Yes, this I can do. Instead of lying around wondering what's going to happen and being afraid, as my final act, I will love everyone dear to me, even as I let them go. As I drive away from Serenity Ridge, I'm happier and more peaceful than I've been since I sat in Dr. Doom's office and he told me I was dying. As soon as I get home, I call Goodwill. I give away everything I don't need. I call my sister and I say, I'm sorry I snapped at you when you were harping on me to come visit you. What are you doing this weekend? And as I turned out the light to go to sleep, and my cousin called, distressed about her marriage, I remembered the importance of compassion, and I joyfully stayed up to support her. I'm in my 6th year of my 10-year window, and I'm doing great. I feel like 1 in a million to be doing so well for so long. I still don't know how or when my death will unfold, but I do know what to do when it does. Thank you.